I've been finding a lot of cockroaches in my house lately, and most have wings, and I guess it is that time of year, so I guess these guys are male cockroaches, as you can tell from the non-usual wings that you don't see on a regular red burner cockroach. And so what I did was, I put them in the freezer right after I captured them, and after I took them out, after a couple of minutes, we're left with a big dinner to feed to my colonies. Before we begin, I would like to shout out my gaming channel if you guys didn't know I had one, so go ahead and go subscribe, and the link will also be provided in the description if you want to go ahead and check it out. Back to the video, I'll be showing you guys how I routinely feed my colonies some cockroaches. This is a type of series where I'm going to be showcasing all of my colonies and feeding them a specific kind of food source and seeing how they all react. All of my colonies enjoy eating these insects, so I'm glad I could find a lot of wild ones in my own backyard. As I said earlier, right after I catch them, I place them in the freezer and wait about 5 to 10 minutes. Now I actually freeze my insects instead of boiling them in hot water because I find it easier to do and also quicker to do compared to actually just boiling them. They also aren't squirming around when they're being eaten by my ants. But let me first grab my plastic tweezers and a Q-tip. Now I do this only for cockroaches since they're the easiest to dissect for me, and they also have a lot of legs full of protein. With my Q-tip, I hold down the roach, and then with my tweezers, I tear apart the roach starting with the legs. Now this was the first time I actually dissected a male roach, so I had a bit of trouble with the wings. As you can tell, it was a bit slippery and I couldn't actually find a grip on it with my Q-tip, but I was still able to tear it apart. And every time, there's always this disgusting blob part of thing that's always the worst part to take out because it looks like some green boogers, and I feel like it's gonna pop sometimes. So I try to be careful whenever I try to take off the head from the roach. Let's start out with my Dormermix bicolor colony. These guys are probably my most picky eaters, and I've had some trouble trying to get them past 20 workers. Currently they're at about 10 workers, but before, they were at like 17, but that was like last year. Hopefully this will be enough to provide their larvae with the protein they need to develop into pupae. I managed to only catch a few seconds of the workers inspecting the carcass, but it didn't look too interested. I'll go ahead and leave them alone for now. Let's now feed my largest colony, and also newest colony, of Carpenter ants. I think they've only been in a few videos, so I still need to make an introduction for them. But right now, they're doing really well. They have around 4 workers in this video, but 8 as of this recording. Remember to check my Instagram if you want to see more pictures of them. I've been feeding them a diet of honey and cockroaches, so there's still a lot more food items that they have to try. And like my Dormermix bicolor colony, I'll leave them alone for now and check up on them the next day. Now that I have fed my largest colony, it's time to feed my smallest colony, known as Dark Rover ants. Cockroach legs are probably their favorite food source, as you can tell by the previously hollowed out meal. Just one is good enough for a small colony, and I usually leave it in there for a week before taking it out. It provides a lot of protein for this colony, so I'm glad they grow quickly because of this food source. Next up is a cubes and tubes setup known as the cliffside, home to my colony of Crematogaster vermiculata, also known as acrobat ants. All of my Crematogaster colonies have grown slowly for the first year of capture, but now it looks like they're finally picking up speed. This colony specifically has about 20 workers, but hopefully after I feed them this roach, they'll be at almost 30. And again, as of this recording, they're already at 30 plus workers and almost reaching 40. But we'll go ahead and check back on them in a little while. Moving on to my second Crematogaster colony, also in a cubes and tubes setup known as aired rubble, they are stacked with brood. I'll give them the wings since I already fed them the day before, and they have about 40 workers, all ready to start feasting. And from the looks of it, the food I gave them yesterday wasn't enough. It usually takes my colonies about 2 to 3 days for them to fully decompose the insect, but my Crematogaster colonies specifically like to keep the remains of the cockroach and continue eating off of it and then feeding it to their larvae. So a day has passed since I first fed my colonies, and it looks like there isn't that much of a hassle around the roach anymore. If you see on the right, they tore off a piece and are still chowing down. And soon enough they'll outgrow of this cubes and tubes setup, and I'll have to move them into a formicarium, and I can't wait until that happens. My other Crematogaster colony in the cliffside cubes and tubes setup are still eating, and moved on to the other test tube to continue chewing. These guys never turn down a roach unless it's already been dead for a couple of days, so I only feed them freshly killed roaches. As for my Camponotus colony, they hollowed it out pretty well. Their brood is also looking healthy too. More workers on the way for sure. I also noticed a pupae in the pile, and it's really cool how you can see what they look like before they eclose. This is actually the first time it's happened with this colony, and I hope this doesn't mean anything bad, as they're supposed to spin cocoons. If you're wondering where my Solenopsis colony is at, I had to find a whole roach for them since what was left from the roach I tore apart wasn't enough. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but this colony lost a third to a half of the workers because of a lack of water and getting stuck in the lid. I'll need to think about a formicarium or just letting them nest in the sand before they outgrow this enclosure. But that was the first episode of Ants React. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name is Ender Ants, another fellow ant YouTuber, and I'll see you later.